For the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Commissioner Barnes.
Here.
Commissioner Larson.
Here.
Mr. Stoffren.
Present.
Commissioner West let us know 2 weeks ago that he wouldn't be in, so you have that on record. Commissioner Newland had something come up, so she is not able to make it tonight either. We also have our mayor here, Mr. Swanson. And we also have our city planner, Mr. Lick.
Present.
Okay. Approval of tonight's agenda. Does anyone have any additions, subtractions, or any changes they would like to make? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve as is.
Make the motion to approve the minutes from the February 25,
25.
that's what I was saying, meeting,
January meeting.
or January, I'm sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
this is B. This is B. This is the
tonight's.
approval of tonight's meeting.
Oh,
Agenda.
yeah, that's what I
Agenda
thought it was
Yep, you're
right.
right.
You said,
You're right.
I was
The
thinking
minutes come next.
previous meeting. My bad.
Yep. Okay, do we have a
Approval of
second?
the
I'll second it.
agenda.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, tonight's approved. Okay, C, approval of meeting minutes from our planning commission meeting dated January 28th,
There we go.
2026.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the planning commission meeting of January 28, 2026.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, approval of meeting minutes from our planning commission dated January 28th, 2026. Okay, D, public hearing. We have a public hearing tonight, a planning commission. We're going to discuss the Country Pup Kennels, 30209 116th Street. They're looking for an interim use permit. At this time, we'll turn it over to Mr. Lick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Country Pup Kennels operates their facility at the referenced address. It's a 35-acre property located just south of County Road 38 along 116th Street. The facilities include boarding and daycare services, as well as they have grooming either provided for, or there is a self-care facility as part of the property. What they're proposing with the facility is a 2,000 square foot addition that would include some reception area as well as retail space that would increase the size of the building. The property exists under an interim use permit approved by the town board in 2024. Anything that increases the intensity of the use requires an amendment to that condition or interim use permit, which would be processed the same way as the initial approval. So that's the reason this is coming back to the Planning Commission for your review and recommendation and the need for the public hearing. So the comprehensive plan guides the property for rural residential uses. Prior to most of you being on the Planning Commission had looked in detail at allowed uses related to animals within the city and determined that kennel uses were appropriate for rural areas in the scale that's being proposed here. So they continue to allow them as a allowed use with approval of an interim use permit. Generally speaking, we haven't received comments regarding this facility since it was approved in 2024. The changes are really kind of incidental to the overall operation of the site. Obviously, the retail component may bring some people in that are just picking up dog food, medicines, et cetera, that wouldn't typically travel there, but it's not anything that's going to be disruptive or significantly change the character of the operation. Under the R1 district, under which the property is zoned, again, this is allowed by interim use permit, and there are standards specific to operation of a kennel within that zoning district that apply to the use that we'll review as part of this application. Just to kind of look at what's being proposed, the existing facility is shown in the grayed out section. The 2,000 square foot additions on the southeast corner of the building. South would be to the left of the page as it's on the screen. And again, it's basically additional, not necessarily occupied space, but reception and retail space as well. The building itself is sided with materials consistent with the requirements of the zoning ordinance, steel siding, pitched roof. mostly, it's not necessarily a typical commercial-looking building, but it would be something that wouldn't look out of place in a rural residential area. The addition complies with, or is consistent with those same materials in the design of the building. The height of the building's a one-story structure, so it's not bulky in any way outside of what you would typically see, again, in this type of area. The zoning ordinance does limit the number of dogs that can be on the facility, and this was distinguished as part of the initial interim use permit as applying only to those there for daycare or boarding, not necessarily for the grooming services. The facility does have 59 kennels. The way the ordinance is written, the limit is 40 dogs, but it includes the provision that allows the city council, with recommendation of the planning commission, to increase that number. Based on the 59 kennels spaces within the building, the applicants are requesting that the 2024 approval be amended to revise that number up to 60 dogs. Again, based on not having received complaints, based on the size of the facility and the ability to accommodate those dogs within the building itself, city staff does not see an issue with that increase and would recommend that be incorporated as part of your recommendations tonight. The site, it provides, again, for the dogs to be within either kennels or there's play space for the daycare dogs within the facility as well. Any outdoor areas would need to be fenced or enclosed and subject to review by city staff as part of that. They do have a separate septic system for the kennel, sized appropriately for the building that's there today. This amendment to the interim use permit doesn't affect that, and so that would all be reviewed by the building official as they're looking at the building plans for the site. Zoom in on this a little bit. So this would be the existing building, again facing south, with the addition on its southeast corner. The primary setback that the proposed building gets a little closer to, it's approximately 90 feet off the property line, whereas 10 feet is required, so compliance with all setbacks. The other setback that applies to kennel uses, is that they can't be closer than 500 feet to any surrounding dwelling, not on the same property. The existing building is more than 500 feet from all the surrounding homes. The addition is farther from those surrounding homes than the existing building itself, so that requirement continues to be complied with. We did provide a calculation of parking for the site, indicating that 20 parking stalls are necessary. The parking area was allowed to be gravel under the 2024 approval, in that it's not in a commercial area. There is space within the gravel surface area to accommodate 20 vehicles. Obviously, there aren't stripes on the rock, but there is sufficient area to accommodate that number of vehicles. And again, we don't have any documentation of any concerns about parking issues as part of the existing use of the property. With the small addition to the building, obviously, you would typically look at stormwater management issues. This scale on this size property doesn't raise that concern. And again, the utilities would be reviewed by the building official. The only other issue that comes up with this is we did highlight that interim use permits are allowed to be terminated by the city, separate from a conditional use permit, which basically runs with the land and would require a proactive revocation if there were issues. This would terminate either upon sale of the property, violation of conditions, or the use ceasing to occur for 1 year or more. It may be something that the Planning Commission needs to look at as part of the next zoning ordinance update. When you have a facility of this scale with this amount of investment, having that at risk with an interim use permit is somewhat difficult for the property owner and operation of that. So we may want to, or the city may want to, look at moving this over to a conditional use at this type of, but that's a discussion for a later date. In summary, staff's review, the proposed addition to the country pup kennel is consistent with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. I'd also highlight that it's very positive from an economic development standpoint when you have a new business established in the city and they come in within 2 years to propose an expansion of their use. It shows that they're doing well and succeeding. That's beneficial for the city as well. So with that, city staff does recommend approval of the application subject to the 6 conditions we outlined in our report. as part of the packet this evening.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lick. At this time, if there is a representative here for Country Pup Kennels, if you would approach the podium, please, give your name and address to Kayla.
Yeah, it's Mark Mason, 30209 116th Street. So we're looking to do an addition over there. I seen the email earlier today about the neighbor to the south of me. First time I met her was at Baldwin Fun Fest. So by doing this addition, we actually will hopefully mitigate some of the noise. One of the renters at our property, we have a house on the property that we rented. He had 2 dogs. They'd constantly bark. I think 2 dogs can create just as much havoc as 10 if they're constantly barking. One of those dogs is no longer there, so now it's a lot quieter. Hopefully that will help. The dogs are never left out alone. So yes, they'll go outside, they'll bark a little bit, but they're not constantly out there barking. So, hopefully that's not an issue. As far as the 60 dogs, when we built the facility, we built it so that way daycare dogs have a spot to go during the day as well as boarding dogs. So that's why we have the 59 kennels. It would be nice to be able to have holidays where we can take in a few extra dogs. So far, we've only been at capacity of 40 dogs one time in a year. Usually it's 25, 30 dogs and then a few daycare dogs. But yeah, the extra space in the building will allow for a little more animals and better care.
Does anybody here have a question for him at this time?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So you're placing the annex on that one corner. Do you have, so I guess my question is, do you have outside pet areas? And on what side of the building would they be on?
We don't have any outside kennels.
Okay, our play area at all?
Yes, I do. Yep, we
Okay,
have,
and the location of that?
it's fenced all the way around the building with separate play yards.
Okay,
There's probably 3 acres of play yards there.
all right. So what I'm getting at is, it looks like you're parking on this side.
Parking is all along the south of the building,
Okay.
Okay,
and it's probably about a 100-foot parking lot. Jim, do you want to run out to my truck and grab that picture?
okay.
Right on the console. Hold it up.
It looks like the parking, on that, it looks like the parking would be on the west side, correct? But the point I was trying to get at, when you build a new building, is that going to further screen, is that going to create a more physical barrier between that house that's?
It will, yes.
Okay.
The house is to the southeast.
Yep, I see that. So are the dogs going to be up by the shed area as far as?
It'll be about where the hand is right now on the.
Okay, so by putting that physical structure there, you're going to create a better barrier for sound,
Yes,
is where I'm going. Okay.
yep,
That was the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
yep.
I have a question for you, Mark. If this was recommended for approval to the city council, Mr. Lick said there was 6 points for the recommendation. You are aware of those?
Oh, yeah.
You're okay with those?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Here's our,
So you actually have them on both sides. You have them on the west side and the east side,
yep, and the north side.
and the north side, okay.
It kind of wraps all the way around the building.
Okay. But the majority of them, there's a physical barrier between, your building is the physical barrier between the dog area and the neighbor's house.
Some of them, yes.
I see that there's 2. Is that a wraparound on that backside there?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I see that real quick? I'll pass.
That's Brown.
Okay, at this time, you can take a seat. We may call you up later. We probably will. At this time, I will open it up to the public and invite any comments or questions from the public. If anyone has any questions, please approach the podium. Give your name and address to Kayla.
My name is Joel Oakes, and I'm a border to the north of the residence.
Okay.
And just because there hasn't been complaints there could be very tolerant neighbors that maybe don't complain over things normally. I know that he referenced 2 dogs, and there's multiple times in the evening at certain times when there's many more than 2 dogs barking. I have not called the Sherburne County Sheriff's Office yet, but in the foreseeable future, if this is expanded, I will be doing so. And I will not only, I'm not only asking that you don't expand it, I would ask you to retract the current license. I don't have the documentation to support it, but it will be going forward if this is approved. And that's my 2 cents, is due to the noise.
And you're to the north?
I'm to the north, directly to the north,
Straight north or northwest, northeast?
straight north.
Okay.
And out in the evenings and out in my shed, I leave my shed, I can hear when they let the dogs out, I can hear when they let the dogs in. Dogs are dogs. There's deer back there. It's been a wildlife habitat, and with the barking, I mean, I'm sure that it
Okay.
has probably reduced the number of deer, but
What are
dogs are
the,
dogs, dogs bark.
So Joel, where are you located on this map now?
We have those 2 parcels directly, right there. That's one, and that's the other.
Those 2 right there, yours?
Yep.
Okay.
Those 2 10 acres are mine, and my wife's. And we're very tolerant of neighbors. I like good neighbors. I think we have good neighbors. I think the Masons are good neighbors. The 40 dogs I question.
question I have, time.
Mhm.
Are there any, could you just do an overview of when,
Normally around 7 o'clock in the evening, for the most part. And I haven't timed it. I haven't gotten the details of it.
okay?
I didn't get excited about it until I heard 20 more dogs. And it's like, okay, enough's enough.
Okay.
40 is too many. I didn't realize it was 40 till tonight when I read the paperwork on the permit.
Is it, do you only hear them at 7 o'clock because that's when you're home, or do they?
Right, I'm primarily home from, I don't get home till 6 o'clock most evenings.
So if it happened during the day, you may not.
I wouldn't know.
How long does it go on?
I haven't timed the duration. You know, I'm going to and from the buildings is when I hear it. Like I say, I'm a very tolerant neighbor. I don't like to make issues, but when things start to become more prevalent, I think it's time to speak out, and that's why I'm here tonight.
Anyone else have any questions for Joel? Okay, thank you very much. Any other public comments? Yes, please approach the podium, give your name and address to Kayla.
I'm Chris Meyer. Address is 11333 305th. I'm right next to Joel, so I'm northeast of Country Pup.
So that's you right there where the hand is?
Yes.
Okay.
And I pretty much second everything he said about the barking. I do notice it in the morning sometimes too, when I put the kids on the bus. I mean, I'd be concerned about them wanting to double. I mean, they're going from 40, so they're going to 60, so they're doubling their size from what they currently have. The odor and waste management, I guess I found out that they have their own septic system or well for that, or both. Neighborhood safety. I don't have the trail camera pictures, but I've had 3 different dogs over this past summer in my back field or south field. I don't have the pictures, but I can't prove it was from them. Who knows? It could have been a stray, or both, or all 3 could have been strays. And then I'm wondering about property value. I did some Googling, and 68% of people in Minnesota don't have dogs. So does that remove my property from 68% of the market if I were to ever sell? So I have some concern about that. Neighborhood safety and the precedence of other requests. Like if we keep expanding this, we allow this, what's next? I mean, are they gonna allow my neighbor to build a junkyard? I mean, just questions and concerns about the whole situation. I think at minimum, this request needs to be researched more before anything happens, so I think that's about all I got.
Does anyone have any questions for Chris at this time? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
So it was stated, I believe by Dan, that there's fencing in all these kennels, but on their website, they talk about 35 acres of walking paths for the dogs. So,
Mr. Chair, they could walk the dogs on the property with a leash, or as long as they're under control.
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Yep. Give your name and address to Kayla, please.
Jeff Holm, 10094 305th Avenue, Baldwin. I've been reached out by the neighbor to the southeast in concerns about the noise, the dogs barking. I heard the applicant say that there was a couple dogs from the renters, and he feels that that's where a lot of it's generated from. The main concern is, sitting outside on their patio and, trying to have a nice relaxing moment in the evening and listening to dogs barking. So it's not that what was expressed to me is they don't want to stifle the applicant in their request or whatever. But just concerned about the increase of the number of dogs, will that increase the noise? That's the issue, the concern that's been brought to me. You've got two things in front of you. You've got the building and the expansion with that, which to me on its face doesn't seem like it's going to increase noise. But if you expand to the 59 dogs, I think you got two questions in front of you, in my opinion, two different things. So keep that in consideration. But I'm just here I've been asked they're out of state and couldn't be here tonight.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the public? Yes.
I'd like to make one more. I was reading the kennel requirements for Sherburne County, and I don't know if this is different than those, but if there's a violation in the laws, it's immediate revocation of the license, close their license. So my question would be, if there's a noise constraint filed and it's found positive, does that immediately revoke the current 40 license?
Mr. Chair, the city council would have to pass a resolution. The city would probably pursue code enforcement efforts first to try and abate the problem before proceeding to immediately revoke the permit.
Thank you.
Jeff Holm, again, same address, haven't moved since last time I was up here. So it's brought to my attention that the dogs go out approximately 3 times a day. We can see if that's accurate. The question here lies on that is it's reported to me that time varies. So I think something that maybe should be considered here is the time, how maybe ask the applicant how the business operates. What are the timing of it? What's the duration? What's the necessity? Why they're out? He can explain. You'll have reasoning and whatever. But I think it would be proper to hear the how, why, and the reasoning, and then maybe consider, is there possibly some time slots during the day, like maybe some area in the evening that it's not a good time to have them out when people are getting home and enjoying themselves. Like during the workday, you're probably going to hear less complaints than the one gentleman here that lives nearby. He doesn't get home till after 6, and so to speak. So maybe there should be some sacred time slot in there that's try to minimize it. So something to consider, and maybe if he could speak to how many times and why and how. Just trying to be neutral here and get the questions and answers. No judgment.
Any other questions or comments at this time? Anyone else?
So are we splitting this into two?
Mr. Chair, before you discuss the application, you should close the public hearing.
Yeah, I thought maybe it's something regarding asking the question to somebody, but otherwise, I'm going to close the public portion.
Okay, so where I'm going is, so far, we talked about the addition. At what point do we talk about the change from 40 to 60? And do we get a chance to ask him or have him?
He can come, we'll be asking him a lot of questions.
Okay.
So he'll be coming up, yeah. But we have to.
Oh, that's, we gotta close it and then we'll call it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You're new, this is fine, that's absolutely fine.
I'm asking.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
I'll make the motion to close the public portion of the meeting regarding Country Cup Kennels request for a interim use permit amendment to their existing.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, public portion of the meeting has been closed. Now, at this time, Mark, if you would approach the podium, please. We have some questions for you. As you obviously have heard, we've got a letter. We've also got neighbors that are concerned with the noise as is. If this was passed on the city council, it seems like noise is the biggest concern.
Correct.
How late are your animals out?
They're out no later than 9 o'clock, usually around mid-morning, 6 a.m. or so, we feed them. They start going out in a rotation. They go out all day long in groups. There's always somebody outside with them. I wasn't aware of the noise level at their homes. We don't continuously let them bark. Now, there was, like I say, a couple of dogs that were there that are closer to their property that were barking constantly for the last year. That's no longer the issue. They get fed at about 6 o'clock. Then at 7 o'clock, they get let out. And yes, there's some barking at 7 when you first let them out. There's not much I can do about that. I could change the feeding time, but that's kind of the schedule. Then by 9 o'clock, they're all done going to the bathroom and cycle starts again the next day.
I'm just concerned on the 9 o'clock because myself, there's days I get up at 3:30 to go to work.
Sure.
If my neighbor's dogs were out there barking at 9 o'clock and I've been trying to get to sleep since 8 o'clock, that's more than annoying. So I can certainly
absolutely.
understand from the 9, it's like, well, this is the schedule we're on, but if that's not working, to certainly add more, that doesn't appear to work at all.
Correct.
So just when you say you can adjust their times, what can you do about that? I guess first I'll ask you what you can do to alleviate noise or minimize
Well,
the
like I
time.
say, we're outside with the dogs, so we don't let the dogs outside and just let them bark. We try to interact with them, play with them, walk with them, make sure that they're not making noise. That's the best way to kind of counteract that. But we did have a couple of dogs there that were barking constantly, and there wasn't much I could do about that. So, but yeah, they're not left out on their own devices to just bark.
Questions for Mark at this time?
Yes.
Go ahead.
You're asking to expand 50%, going from 40 to 60. What changes are you making? How are you going to adapt your business to accommodate the extra dogs and to keep them within your?
Well, it's kind of a weird thing because I never really asked for an expansion. I just got the email that I was asking for an expansion. All I was asking for was a building permit to allow a larger area in the front of the building.
Okay.
When I built the building, like I said previously, I put in 59 kennels because we were allowed 40 dogs per day and 20 daycare dogs. That way every dog that was there had a spot. So during the day, when the daycare dogs aren't outside barking, I have a kennel to put them in. So they can take a break, take a nap. So when I got the email the other day that it was proposed for 60 dogs and 20 daycare dogs, I was as surprised as everybody else.
Okay. So it's not necessarily what you're asking for.
It's not necessarily what I'm asking for.
Mr. Chair, there may have been just some misunderstanding. So the original condition is on the screen, item number 4. So they can have 40 dogs for boarding, plus 10 dogs for daycare. So they are currently allowed to have 60 dogs. They can't board more than 40 overnight.
Which is what you're at right now. You're at 40 and
Correct.
you board up to 20 more. So yeah, it's your 59 kennels.
Yeah, so I have capacity for more, but
Yeah.
I was basically just coming in so I had some more room in the front of the building. It's kind of a small storefront, so if you get 2 or 3 people in there and you get a couple dogs that are aggressive, eventually it's gonna be a problem.
The problem is you have neighbors to the north, northeast, and southeast that all have issues with the noise. And if something's not done with the noise, even as is, if this isn't approved, we still have a problem. Anything we go forward, if that's not addressed here, get better, it's just complaints coming in. So as far
Sure.
as anything we can do, ideas as far as time, go ahead.
Do we have a noise ordinance? I mean,
So we have standard nuisance noise ordinance that we're working with Sherburne County to make adjustments for barking dogs. So it's continual barking for a period of time. And it has to be witnessed by either city staff or the sheriff's office when it's happening. Typical nighttime hours are 10 PM to 7 AM, where
Thank you.
we would have restrictions.
but this is meeting that, even with 40 dogs, if they're in the building.
There is, you typically,
don't-
the way it's,
That's what I was questioning, is
Daytime
how
barking
is
is
the
not
current ordinance written?
daytime barking is not regarded the same as nighttime barking.
Okay.
That way.
Any other questions?
So I'm wondering, is it written now with this change that he would be allowed to fully board 60 dogs then, or? Because under the current requirement, he's allowed to board 40.
Well, actually, if this is the ordinance as it's written now, he's not asking for change. He's
Correct.
basically, you're asking, he just wants to add on. He's not asking for anything other than that.
Correct.
Right now, what's in front of us is to make a motion to approve the expansion.
Mr. Chair, just to be clear, Mr. Mason, is this conditions as it exists today satisfactory to the, or did you want to have them consider allowing you the ability to have board up to 60 dogs?
It would be nice on a holiday, but I'm not, I didn't come to the board to ask for more dogs.
Can I go ahead and make a motion then?
So my question
Oh, sorry.
is, does the original request need to be amended to reflect what Mr. Mason is currently saying?
Mr. Chair. So based on what Mr. Mason is saying and my perception of what the planning commission is saying, if you were to recommend approval, you would just delete condition number 2 from the recommendations. This condition then still stands.
Yes?
Are you ready or not? Do we have
Entertain a
questions?
motion
Do
at
we
any
not?
time. I guess what's in front of us is just the addition. Nothing else about anything, adding anything more. Everything else is staying status quo.
Yeah,
That's all that's in front of us right now is adding an addition on the building. So nothing has changing as far as the number of animals. So what we're looking at is
Yep.
making a motion to approve, or not approve, but recommend approval to the city council for the addition of that building.
All right.
And Mr. Chair, it should be noted that by adding the building is for retail and waiting space, which helps them control their business a little bit better. So it has no effect on the amount of dogs, it's just creating that it's improving the building without burdening it more with more dogs.
Correct.
And Mr. Chair, I would.
Should actually help alleviate some of the noise. We'll have an extra area in the building to have a second playroom, so to speak.
Mr. Chair, I would say as to the other comments from the public about the operation of the business, it's been brought to the city's attention, it's been brought to Mr. Mason's attention, so that they can take steps in their operation to work to address that. So if there's a need to address it in the future, city staff would work with Mr. Mason to do that.
So now you've heard your neighbors and their
Yeah.
concerns, complaints, so you know that they're out there. So we're here to address the addition that you want, and that's just simply an addition. So if this is approved for recommendation of approval with those 5 conditions, it will be just for the building. As Mr. Lick just stated to you and
Correct.
everybody else, that the noise issue, there is a noise ordinance, and there's a proper channel for your neighbors to address that with you.
Correct.
Not taken care of. Okay.
Yep.
Like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion recommending approval for the addition proposed for the kennels with the 5 conditions as listed by staff, meaning number 2 is excluded, as it meets our current zoning requirements as shown.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second? Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, will it be next?
Mayor? Oh, I'm never mind.
So it'll be 3 weeks? It'll be on the agenda for the city?
Mr. Chair, this will go to the city council on March 4th.
March 4th. Okay, March 4th for everybody. We're going to recommend approval of the addition to the city council. The meeting will be March 4th. There'll be a address with you as well as the city council at that time. So March 4th, 7 o'clock at this location. Okay, thank you. Okay, that brings us up to E, new business. We have nothing on the new business agenda. F, old business, our continued discussion of accessory buildings from our February 11th meeting, 2026. We had 4 properties that an email was sent out. Did anybody have a chance to go look at them? We're here just to discuss this. This isn't, all this is discussion tonight. It would be brought up at a public hearing once we decide it. So this is just our discussion of what we think. Right now, we currently have 10 acres. Nothing can be on anything that's 10 acres or smaller, or under 10 acres, excuse me. It does also allow, though, with those storage buildings, it does allow semi-trailers. I don't know if you had a chance to go out and look at them, what your opinions were on that. Mr. Wes, Bruce, he made his comments 2 weeks ago. He said he wouldn't be here. Abby also basically told us what she thought, so we have an idea. It's not a vote tonight, it's just basically where we're at with those. So if anyone would like to take that, how they feel? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, just to kind of start the discussion. So what we did was take the feedback from the meeting on February 11th and drafted a proposed ordinance really reflecting kind of the consensus of the majority of the city council that evening. We wanted to use this as a starting point to give the planning commission something to react to. And really the focus of the change is on allowance for shipping containers on properties smaller than 10 acres. Anything under the current ordinance that is in that situation is only allowed temporary use of these structures. Obviously, there are several instances where they're being used without approval throughout the city. So we've revised this ordinance to propose reflecting the consensus that as a permanent structure, shipping container could be allowed on a lot that is at least 2.5 acres in area, so a legally conforming lot, that there would be 1 shipping container per property, that the shipping container cannot exceed 200 square feet in area, that the shipping container has to be located in the side or rear yard of the property, not in the yard adjacent to a public street, and would be subject to increased setback requirements. And then there'd also be the requirement that they at least be painted an earth tone color. Any shipping container that someone converts basically into something that looks like a stick-built structure would be exempt from these regulations. We just basically treat that as an accessory building, whether it be stick-built or a pole-type structure. But really, the point of the discussion tonight is we're going to bring this back at a public hearing at the meeting on March 25th. Is there anything in the ordinance as written that the planning commission would suggest altering somewhere between what exists today and what's being proposed that should be considered by the planning commission to make a recommendation to the council? So really focusing on the minimum lot area requirement, the number of structures, and the total allowed area of shipping containers as accessory structures.
Any comments from anyone on that? Actually, like all comments on that, if possible. I can start. Wait.
I have one, sorry, I have one, well, at least one question at the moment. So, and the way it's written, of course, it can't be in the front yard. But I know at least, I guess it is considered a rear yard, but you can, because of the way the trees are down, you can see it from the other public roads.
Right.
Because there are some lots out there that have frontage on more than one road.
Corner lots.
Well, we've even got some that are,
Through lots where the rear yard-
yeah, the one I'm thinking of, and I should know the address off the top of my head, and I don't, but the front is off of a cul-de-sac, and then it fans way out, and the back of it's off of 9. And there's a lot of storage on that property. I don't think any of it's a storage container, but it kind of functions, it's a rear yard, but because of its frontage along 9, it's functions as a front. How do we
So-
interpret those here in Baldwin? I guess is my question. Does that?
So from a general perspective, when typically you don't allow subdivisions where a lot has frontage on a front, side, and rear of a local street. You have it where as in this case, the rear lot line abuts a county road, which is an arterial. That's fairly typical because you can't have driveways along those roads, and so
Correct.
that's just how they arrange the subdivisions. So we wrote the ordinance to say you can't have shipping container in the front yard abutting a local street or the side yard of a corner lot, which are the side yard of the corner lot typically becomes like the line of the front yard once you continue down a block. You'll go around a corner, now you've got houses facing that street. So it's regarded as being interior to the neighborhood. So in that situation, my view would be it'd be appropriate to have the shipping container in the rear yard abutting a county road. If it was for some reason a local street, no.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
So right now, currently, it reads 10 acres or more, where you can have one. These are some of the proposals. I strongly suggest on A to go back to 10 acres. I didn't see, I know that last week or 2 weeks when we talked about it, and there was the talk that, well, people can dress them up, they can make them look nice. I saw 2 that were painted. I saw 3 that had numbers, letters, one had Triton huge on the side. I saw in the one, it was just, I mean, it was hideous. It's like, it was just right there. It's just like, there's no other way. It's like, no wonder why the neighbors are complaining. And it's like, it just looks terrible. And it's like, if they start stamping these all up, it's like, you know, everything we're doing, when we do stuff here, it's like we're looking at the overall beauty of it. And to go from 10 acres down to 2.5, where those can just be thrown in everywhere. There was only one of them that didn't look bad. All the rest, to me, it's just my opinion, but I just don't, I think going from 10 to 2.5 is the wrong thing to do, because then even if we make the change back, everybody who has one is at that point would be grandfathered in because we approved the 2.5. And I don't see any reason for it. I saw a lot of developments where they had a small shed, whether they had little teeny fake windows on top that looked really nice. They were back there. They were closed up. They were nice. And it's like those, a few of them looked like literally like a helicopter flew in and just dropped them right there in the yard. There was no driveway up to them. There was no flowers around them. There was no nothing. They're just sitting there. And 2 of them were literally where the road goes down and came up as soon as the yard leveled. One's here, one is, I mean, they're just right there. It's like in 2.5 acres, it looked even worse. And then I was comparing where I live, and I thought right next to us, we have 2.5 and we have 2.7. So I thought if those were all one lot, that'd be just over 5. And I thought if one was there, where could they even hide that if they wanted to put it? And I'm like, so I can't even buy the 5 acres personally. So, Mr. Stoffren.
I agree, having looked at them, and how they're being placed out there now, 2.5 acres or 5 acres wouldn't suffice. You have a lot of, we'll have new developments. Well, one example is over on 142nd and 9. There's no foliage, there's no trees. It's just, you put it next to the house, between the house and the street. As I drove around, I tried to picture, it's like, what would this place look like if every person had one of those? And that's not somewhere I think that our people want to live. They're here because of the open area and the beauty of it, and to dump these in, or allow people to dump them in, it would take away from what people are expecting of the area. So I mean, I agree as far as on number A, putting it back up to 10. I do agree with, there's some people out there that have container farms where they're popping up more and more. You know, I think there's one down the road that's got 4 or 5 of them. I agree that there should be, you know, if we allow them at the 10, they shouldn't be multiplying. They should be, we should set the limit, whether it's 1 or 2 for that size would be fine. The 200 square feet on item C, that's a 20-foot container, because as soon as you go to a 40-foot, that's 320 feet, and most of these people have the 40-foot ones. I don't see any 20-footers out there, or actually, yeah, I've seen a couple. And again, you know, the one person had 2 of them with the cover with the RV stuck in the middle, and it wasn't right for that neighborhood, in my opinion. So I think we should allow the ordinance basically to stay pretty much as it is, except for limiting how many people are allowed.
Mr. Barnes.
Further discussion. I've thought a lot about it. I'm a little torn on both sides. So give me I'll circle around, unfortunately. I'm not one who wants to impose ordinances that we can't enforce. So then looking at enforcement actions, we have to consider both sides of that. If we leave it at 10, we're going to have somebody go out and enforce removal of all of these storage containers that are already there. I get that that's where beauty, because they look bad, and I'm not disagreeing with that in any way, shape, or form. But somebody else made a comment that rang with me of, if we're a rural community, one of the reasons we're here is because we aren't under the severe restrictions that a strict development or tight subdivision, the acreage allows us to do a lot more things with property that we own. So where do we balance that? And I go back to the enforcement. If we go down to the 2.5 acres and we have it written in here that they have to be painted or sided, well, that's another enforcement action. So again, we still have to go out and do enforcement. So I'm torn on both sides. I am not for making ordinances that we don't enforce. If we're going to leave it at 10, we've got to enforce it that every other storage area that's out there is removed.
Mr. Chair. Just along that line, the city only does enforcement on a complaint basis. Now granted, we've got 4 active cases, and if the decision is not to change the ordinance, we follow through on enforcing that. What typically happens is one of those 4 people is going to give us a long list of properties.
Exactly.
That, the city then also has to enforce on. But if the ordinance doesn't change, and notwithstanding the 4 cases we have now, the city isn't going to initiate a citywide survey of shipping containers and send 900 plus letters to people saying.
Or however many are out there. I was trying to avoid.
couldn't.
I like numbers, but. Yeah, I see both sides in this one. I'm not sure which way to go. I'll listen to more opinion.
I commend Ed Stavran, and I agree with him. I don't want to become known as a container city. And I'm afraid if we don't stick to our rules, that somebody may, economy goes bad, need money. Oh, let me put up a few storage units here. I don't want to see that happen. That would be a concern, because I have 5.5 acres. And I'm very careful of what I do, because I always come for a permit if it's needed or not. I can go with both sides too, because the other side is, okay, we have a lot of non-compliant structures out there. And how do we deal with that? I don't think grandfathering them in would be the answer, but I don't know how we do it.
I don't think there's anything we can do that would avoid some aspect of it not being compliant, other than saying it's a free-for-all, it's the Old West, do what you want. Because everyone out there, which with what you stated is so true, whatever we do, if we say, well, you can do, we'll go down to 2.5 or 5 or 2.5, but you have to do this, there's not one out there that meets the requirements we would want. They would have to, so then they'd be enforcing everything there. So it's like, either way, there's gonna be enforcement, so we're not.
Agreed.
Right, there's no easy
Agreed.
way other than saying free for all, do what you want, and we won't, in which we're not doing that. So that's just it, it's like, that's what we're looking at. So that's why this is just a discussion to try to set parameters, what we think is best, then it's gonna go to a public hearing, we'll hear from people, and then it's gonna go to the city council. So it has 2 more meetings before it is actually approved, but trying to find rhyme and reason why we're at where we're at as we go forward. Yes.
Chair Massa, I would also say, I think some people just don't know. They're not educated about it. They haven't read any of the ordinances we have. And so part of me says, if they knew better, would they do better? And follow the codes we have. Some would, some wouldn't. But I think education is a big piece of this too.
I agree with you. I do that every day. It's
Video.
amazing how many plead,
Ignorance?
I'm going to do it and beg forgiveness and get away with it,
Yeah.
is the direction a lot of it goes, unfortunately.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I do believe, regardless of which direction we go, we need to do some community education. And make sure that, because like I say, I ran into a problem where my neighbor asked me, hey, can I do this? And I went back to him and, we found out that, no, you can't. But he was ready to put down money on this and have it delivered that weekend. And I stopped him. So I think community education has to be a big part of I mean, I guess that'll come out of the public hearings as well, if we announce that there's a public hearing on this and back. But we do need to make a better effort on the community education.
Yeah. That, the public hearing would be a month from now. So as a planning commission, what we have to look at is,
How do we want it worded?
right, so 2 weeks ago, and I'm not speaking for them, but disagree, or they said something else. Bruce, Commissioner West, he pretty much stated that he liked it to stay at 10, roughly speaking. Commissioner Newland, she said she pretty much felt the same way. So
Agreed.
just from the standpoint, they weren't, yanking any way that we don't all agree with. We can't avoid enforcement. It's gonna come
I
down.
agree.
We're gonna have to enforce stuff. So is it better to stay with the 10 that we are at, go from there, because that seems what the consensus is, bring it to a public hearing, see what the public state has to say. It still hasn't got to the city council, still hasn't got to a vote. We're throwing it out to the public. Like you said, the education in our special meeting, we can also address that if we want, how we want to educate for the public hearing, what we want to have to present to the public. So when they're here, we can tell them this is what we're looking at. If it comes to the point of where We do have to address the other ones. I do agree when you mentioned the 20-foot versus the 40-foot, you know, the 200 feet versus the 400 feet. When you go out there and look, there are, most of them that I've seen, I think I've seen one. I've seen one for sure, maybe two, but I think they're all 40-foot, so they're big. So it's like,
That's
not
three.
only are they numbers and letters on them, not painted, not whatever, they're also way oversized. So it's like everything is out of compliance if we would go to that. So we do have a lot to address with that.
So at this point, we're looking at staying at 10 acres,
Correct. Getting rid of the,
only one per area or per property owner, per parcel or lot, sorry, thank you.
trailer parking. No trailer parking.
Are you suggesting changing the size to the 400 square feet or leaving it at 200?
That is.
I haven't,
Chair,
Yes.
it would be either keep that condition or remove it entirely. Because then effectively it's, the area is governed then by the limit on containers because they're standardized sizes.
okay,
They're all 8 feet wide by either 20 feet or 40 feet.
okay. Are we leaving, so the setbacks are there, which should stay. Even on the 10 acres, we're still saying that they would have to be painted and beautified,
Correct.
okay?
Correct.
And anchored to the ground, okay.
Correct.
Question, what does anchored to the ground mean? I was asked that today.
So you somehow secured like mobile home would be to the ground, either you can use the conical piers or you can use.
Straps.
Straps. Yep.
Strap it down, okay.
Just slide. Essentially so that it doesn't blow away in a tornado.
That was my response. It had to be secure enough to not blow.
Anything else that we need to discuss for,
That's-
that's the verbiage that you can change?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else that you'd like to add to Mr. Licht? Go ahead, sir.
Chair, does this, this covers construction as well? Is that part of it as temporary storage?
Yes.
Okay.
So the main change there is the way the ordinance is currently written. Construction project not to exceed 3 months. But if you're building a house, it can take longer than 3 months. Building permits, once they're active, there's a 180-day window there. So we're just making it consistent with the building permit language.
Yep. Anyone else have any questions on that?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Line number 3. So,
This one?
yeah. Exempt from these provisions of this section. So does that include the lot size?
Yes.
So if I have a 2.5 acre lot and I side mine, I bring it in and I side it, we're agreeing that that's acceptable?
Side everything but the doors so that it looks like a tough shed or accessory building, then
Okay.
I kind of like that option because then those of them that are current code violations are, have a potential option to still keep it as long as they
Turn it into a shed.
turn it into a full shed.
It has the siding, it has the pitched roof. So
oh, go ahead.
it basically looks like an outbuilding,
Yep.
like something was dropped by a helicopter and set in the yard.
Mr. Chair, because that condition really kind of goes back to the discussion City Council and Planning Commission had. And even if you go back to the first time this came up, the building official and I had a discussion as to, well, what's the difference between a shipping container and a tough shed under 200 square feet that doesn't need a building permit or any type of approval? So we were kind of caught in this, when you get below a certain standard, you're caught in a gray area. So at least if we apply this, then it's being treated the same as a tough shed.
Okay. And do we add proper anchoring and meets building codes? I mean, we want it 10 feet away from any structure so that,
At that point, yes, you're treating it as a structure, so then it has to meet foundation requirements of the building code.
And would that fall under a building permit at that point?
Yes.
And do we have to put that in the?
No.
No, that's why he's
That's a
here.
good question.
He's been doing this for decades.
Well, that sounds like, could be a compromise.
This is with exterior finished materials consistent with the principal building and the pitched roof. So basically, it will literally look like they've built an outbuilding that is consistent with their primary residence.
I could do that.
And that works for you then, sir, right? Everything we got? Okay. Okay, good deal.
Leave that one in there.
Okay, let's go on to F2, the continued discussion of the comprehensive plan update from February 11th meeting, 2026. Mr. Lick, would you please let us know where we were at on that?
Mr. Chair, we were working our way through the policy plan document. We were on page 42, item D, parks, open spaces, and trails. The way we were doing this before is you guys all were taking turns to read each goal and the set of policies underneath it aloud for the benefit of the group, and then discussing as needed. Guess we do the same.
So we're on D, parks, open spaces, and trails.
Correct.
Okay, the parks, the open spaces, and the trails. It says parks and open spaces are an amenity to the community that contribute positively to the quality of life and the character of Baldwin. The trails will serve both as recreation and transportation functions. Goal 1, planning for parks and trail systems shall be a dynamic process that organizes and addresses recreation activities in a comprehensive manner. The policies are to establish parks and open spaces within Baldwin that are accessible for all residents and groups of the community. To ensure that the acquisition of land and development of facilities for parks and open spaces reflect the community's needs and priorities. And that they will provide for those benefiting from the acquisition and development of the parks, open spaces, and trails are participate with the cost of improvements. We talked about this earlier, when there are any parks, and correct me if I'm wrong, and something needs to be repaired or upgraded, they don't fix things, they replace them, correct? So when something is in need of repair, it's replaced, so nothing is ever fixed, it's always replaced, so it's top notch. So just the fact that it talks about the cost of improvements, sometimes the improvement might seem like it might not be as much, but it's replacement, it's not repair, so.
Mr. Chair, as it pertains to this specific set of goals and policies, I should emphasize, this is kind of in here as a placeholder. The intent is the planning commission works through the update of the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Once your work is finished and the council has approved it, then we're gonna go back to the Parks Committee and specifically look at future planning for trails and park facilities, and they will also be reviewing these policies as well, so.
Okay.
The intent here, again, obviously, it's still within the purview of the planning commission, but there will be additional input and look on this section from the park committee.
Okay, okay. And then page 43,
I'll read the next one.
okay, goal number 2.
Goal number 2, acquire land for development of parks, trails, and open spaces to fulfill the long-term needs of the present and projected population of the community. Policies would be acquire land for parks through dedication, donation, purchase, or other means available to the city to implement the future parks and trails plan. Next item, accept dedication of land for parks, open spaces, and trails in satisfaction of subdivision requirements only when the needs of the community are satisfied as established by the future parks and trails plan. Next item, acquire lands with high amenity value and unique landscape areas such as river frontage, water bodies, waterway, wetland, ponds, streams, significant tree stands, native prairie bluffs, or areas of rugged topography as amenities within the developing park system. Next item, include areas of cultural value within park lands when they exhibit qualities or have opportunities to contribute to the park and trail system. Next item, require of adequate right-of-way for sidewalks and trails during the subdivision process or acquired as part of an improvement projects.
Any questions or comments on that? Select, do you have anything? Nothing. Okay, goal 3. Take that?
Goal number 3, develop a system of parks, open spaces, and trails, Baldwin the community in a manner compatible with surrounding land uses. That doesn't read right if you ask me,
No, it doesn't. Oops, Parks.
but I'll let Dan figure that out. Okay, sorry.
Well, that's good, because somewhere between Trails and Baldwin,
I'm not
the
sure
word or
what
two that are missing.
missing. Policies define a desired balance between active, passive, and cultural recreational areas and activities tailored to the needs of the community. Preserve natural amenities or cultural resources when planning the development of specific parks and trail sites. Make improvements to the park and trail system based on the recommendation of the Parks System Plan. Establish consistent design elements for park and trail facilities, including buildings, play equipment, landscape plantings, signage, fixtures, etc., that promote community identity and recognition of public facilities. Coordinate park development with city stormwater management plans. Utilize trails for both transportation and recreational functions as connections between activity centers or by providing access to parks and open spaces.
Question for you on the first one, under policies, define a desired balance between active, passive, and cultural recreational areas and activities. With our current ones, active, passive, and cultural, can you find that?
So for example, Young Park is an active park. Some of the beaches, the other properties would be passive open spaces. A lot of times what you will see cities do is within developments acquire parcels that have wetlands or stormwater basins for stormwater management purposes. Well, you can make that part of a trail corridor by, leaving a bench for a trail to go through so that it becomes a recreational opportunity as well as serving the stormwater functions.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, page 44. Transportation is a critical infrastructure for Baldwin in terms of continued growth, requiring that full attention must be given to ensure a functional transportation system. Additionally, the transportation system must be coordinated with the future land use plan to identify and address areas where improvements may be required as a prerequisite for development. Within the context of these considerations, the following goals and policies are provided. Goal 1. Anderson, would you be willing to take that?
Goal 1, approach all modes of transportation as an integrated system to be planned on a coordinated basis. Policies. Number 1, develop a transportation system that serves mobility and accesses needs of residents, businesses, and institutions and supports the Baldwin's goals for future growth. Number 2, design transportation facilities to conserve natural resources and minimize the need for ongoing public investment. Number 3, plan transportation facilities to function in a manner compatible with adjacent land use in those instances where the function of a transportation facility has changed over time to become incompatible with adjacent land use. Programs shall be established to eliminate this incompatibility. Number 4, coordinate transportation planning and implementation with neighboring and affected jurisdictions. Number 5, include provisions for other transportation modes, i.e. bicycles, trails, park and ride, etc., in street and highway improvement plans when feasible and practical. Number 7, stage transportation improvements to reflect projected growth needs and land use changes in coordination with available financial resources. 8, work with the Sherburne County, the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and surrounding jurisdictions to identify the means by which long-term transportation goals can be met to satisfy both regional and local needs.
Because isn't it true that Minnesota's trying to have bike paths that basically connect and you can travel
Yep.
all over the entire state on bike paths?
Correct. And largely, when you look at funding sources through the state aid monies that the city is now eligible for, they do emphasize a priority for roadway adjacent trails or any grants that the city is going to go after for roadway improvements. Having trails as part of that project is going to help it score higher and increase success rate.
Say roadway adjacent, I know on 38, when they added on to 38, they put on the wide shoulders. I don't see a lot of like paths. Seems like most of them are connected, you just add bigger shoulders. Is that what primarily they do?
That's the easy way to do it, correct, yeah. The more attractive way to do it is to have a grade separated trail. So you'd have the ditch and then a trail on the outside of it, just to move the bikes or the pedestrians away from traffic. But
That's pretty hard when it's private property, you're going through someone's yard or field, so.
yep, it increases cost because you have to require more right-of-way. But if it's, again, part of a federal or state program where you're getting grant monies, that then becomes part of that. Or as part of the subdivision process going forward, if the city decides that it's a priority to have trails along major roadways, then we increase the right-of-way dedication standards and have the developer build trails as part of their new developments.
Okay, goal 2, the street system in Baldwin shall be planned, designed, and constructed according to the highest standards in consideration of land use and efficient local and regional transportation. Policies. Base planning and design of streets within Baldwin on a functional classification system. Plan for anticipated increase in traffic volumes and corresponding roadway improvements by analyzing existing right-of-way widths, accessibility, speed, surfacing, sizing, and maintenance requirements of existing roads and those in areas of new development. Act to plan, design, and construct a street system in those areas where incomplete facilities exist. Design and construct new streets and upgrade existing streets in compliance with Minnesota Department of Transportation standard specifications. Classify all residential streets as low-volume carriers designed to prevent penetration by through traffic and to properly direct traffic to major collector and arterial streets. Connect neighborhoods with local streets to allow for intra-neighborhood relations, distribution of traffic, and access by emergency and service vehicles. Implement a uniform sign maintenance policy regarding roadway signs that eliminates unnecessary signs and places outdated, inappropriate, and confusing public signs. That's going to be highlighted, and we'll come back to that word. Protect investments in a transportation system through implementation of a pavement preservation plan. Lastly, identify existing traffic safety hazards within the city and program corrective action as part of the capital improvement plan. A few things on this. First of all, on the sixth one, the inappropriate or confusing public signs.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of that?
So the goal is to minimize the number of signs that are out in the city, especially in neighborhoods. The best example would be placing stop signs at intersections within local streets. You know, basic traffic law says if you approach an intersection and other vehicles are approaching, you know, the order of yielding standard applies. It can be confusing if you put up stop signs in random places for drivers where they're not expected, which can also then lead to them being ignored and somebody getting hit, causing accidents, etc. So that'd be an example.
Did notice driving around that we have a few stop signs on 302nd and 136th. There's those solar stop signs. Those are really nice because today when my mind was on this, I was driving around and those just jump out at you. It's very nice that we have those. But then when I was on 38 and 19, we have stop signs for the one-way, not north and south. So this is, I'm just asking, not that I'm for it, but in areas where we have either one-way stop, or we're gonna end up having a four-way or two-way stop, or we're gonna end up with four-way, does Baldwin ever anticipate doing roundabouts?
Wow, that didn't go where I thought he was going. No. Okay.
Couple of things. At this point in time, I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Because they are unbelievably expensive. $1.5 million for the roundabout that went, gas station. That's a start. I thought you were gonna go about stop signs and things like that, and four-way stops versus not. So County Road 38 and 19, those are county roads, so
Okay.
we have no say in that. However, on that particular one, we do have on the stop sign, lighted blinking solar stop signs. But only because Baldwin said, we want those stop signs there. The county didn't want to put the blinking signs. So the township at the time bought them, paid for them. The county installed them, and they are there now because we want the maintenance on them.
Okay.
So, and you're absolutely right. The one thing that is, I mean, absolutely to me is absurd. You know, you get to that one and the north-south is through, but east-west is stopped. You get to some different place in a different county road, whatnot, and east-west is through and north-south is stopped. Correct. So talk about creating confusion. What this says is we want to try and eliminate as much of that as possible. Our roads, but when it comes to the county roads, whatever, we have.
If we wanted 19 to have a stop sign, that was a four-way stop, by the cemetery, we have no say in that.
Correct. We could petition the county, we could ask them to do that, but ultimately they would say, because we said, let's make that a four-way stop. We've had many close calls and accidents there besides.
Unfortunately, things like that are governed by traffic laws, and you have to meet warrants in order to install stop signs. And I, even as someone who's been doing traffic engineering for 20-plus years, I don't always understand where the warrants come from and how, where it meets our requirements or how it gets to those counts. But yeah, unfortunately, to install a four-way stop, it has to meet certain requirements, and stoplights are even additional requirements.
Mr. Chair, to that point, if there'd be a lot of collisions at that intersection, that would probably trigger the warrants.
Correct.
It's kind of like when people say, well, I'd really like to see a stop sign here or a stop light or something. Well, unfortunately, more people have to have accidents to actually then trigger that, or it has to reach a certain volume.
It's, yeah, unfortunately.
And Mr. Chair, I assume they'd put the counters out as well to see what the traffic count is.
Correct.
I know they've done that on 9 and 45, I think.
Yeah,
before.
they even did that on 116th when we had some houses put on our road. They put a counter on there to see how many went on there. It's a minor connector between 38 and 2, 116th is. So when they put a counter on there to see how much traffic, I don't know what it was to decrease speed or not, but they had to put a counter on there.
Mr. Chair, just to follow up on your comment about roundabouts, those would typically only be seen on intersections of collector streets. So 45 and 19.
Okay.
For instance, if it got to traffic volumes that would warrant a signal, maybe you look at putting a roundabout there because the initial construction is more expensive, but the long-term cost is less. The other part, and I don't know what Sherburne County's policy is, but it's typically that even though it's 2 county roads, the city is responsible for maintenance of the stoplights.
Okay.
So the painting and the light bulbs themselves, and the electricity.
Put a little more on that.
We'll buy
Goal 3?
Sort of.
like,
Goal 3?
Yep, goal 3. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there, but it's
Goal 3,
goal 3.
support the development of public transit, paratransit, carpooling, and other such measures that will minimize the need for individual automobile travel. By policies such as supporting development of park and ride facilities within the US Highway 169 corridor as needed or as need dictates, and funding may be available. Second item, encourage provision of regional transit and paratransit services to meet the basic transportation needs of persons who cannot use automobile transportation where economically feasible. Is that a period at the end?
That is a period, or it will be.
Okay, it will be a period, thank you.
Goal 4. Commissioner Barnes, would you want to take that?
Goal 4, ensure that all land uses have appropriate access and sufficient off-street parking to meet demand. Policies. Restrict vehicular access onto arterials and collector streets to ensure capacity prevention through adequate distance between intersections and effective utilization of appropriate traffic control methods and devices. Prohibit parking on arterial and collector streets and on-street parking on other streets as needed that conflicts with moving traffic or creates hazards shall be eliminated. Develop parking facilities so as to conserve land, promote joint use, and minimize conflicts with vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycle traffic. Require any new development or expansion of existing development shall include adequate off-street parking. Utilize landscaping and site design to eliminate large continuous expanses of pavement and enhance the aesthetics of parking areas. Make provision for accessible parking spaces in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act in all off-street parking areas. Promote safe pathways for pedestrians and bicyclists in parking lots and internal traffic circulation areas.
Question, Mr. Licht, on the first two. The second one where it says prohibit parking on arterial and collector streets, which is understanding, but the first one says restrict vehicular access onto arterial and collector streets to ensure capacity preservation. When it says restrict, what do they mean by that?
So no direct driveways onto collector and arterial streets, and street intersections need to be spaced. Typically, they're done in quarter mile, eighth mile, quarter mile, half mile intervals, depending on the classification.
Okay.
The fewer accesses means traffic can move through. If you think about county roads, for example, their goal isn't to provide access to the property next to it, it's to move traffic from one destination to the other through. So you don't want people coming in and pulling into that roadway to interrupt that flow of traffic.
Mr. Chair, on the second one, the last three words shall be eliminated.
Should be eliminated.
Should be.
No, the last three words should actually
Should
be
be.
deleted.
Thank you. Okay. That's my point, thank you.
I wondered it when I was reading it, but I didn't stop. I figured I'm reading it out loud, you're making notes. It works.
Like Patty Miller's here.
It works.
That's part of our process, is by reading it, we realize that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Or before someone else tells us
And
that.
I knew Dan was making notes, so it was good.
You said,
He's got it.
The Patty.
We keep them around for that.
Right?
Okay, E, community facilities. Provision of necessary community facilities, infrastructure, and services is the primary function of local government. These facilities include administration, public works, and emergency services. Goal 1. Commissioner Larson, will you take that, please?
Sure. Maintain and improve existing services and develop new community facilities and services to meet the needs and interests of Baldwin. Policies. Number 1, cooperation and coordination between governmental units shall be promoted and encouraged in the provision of public facilities and services. Number 2, initiate studies to analyze public facility or service improvements in response to increasing as continued growth necessitates.
We'll just change that to continued growth, in response to continued growth.
Number 3, plan for the development of stations within Baldwin and continued provision of fire protection services to protect public safety. Number 4, monitor public police services provided by the Sherburne County's office to ensure adequate protection for persons and property and minimize crime within Baldwin. Number 5, require coordination among all public and private utilities to locate systems within public right-of-way and easement, providing ease of access for maintenance, repair, and minimal disruption of other uses or adjoining properties.
Questions or comments on that? You, Ms. Schlick?
Nothing.
Okay. Goal number 2, provide for proper school facilities by working with school district officials to meet the needs of existing and future populations. Policies are communicate community growth with school districts to ensure appropriate facility planning, assist school districts in locating sites for new facilities that are accessible, compatible with adjacent land uses and natural environment amenities, and offer the necessary land to meet the physical needs of the facility. Promote school site design that results in the facilities becoming neighborhood and community focal points and gathering areas. Establish safe and convenient access to each school site within the community. Lastly, enter into agreements for joint use of city parks and school recreation facilities to maximize the benefits for both residents and students. Any questions, comments on that? F, administration. Administration of the comprehensive plan addresses the implementation of the policies and plans established during the planning process. Goal 1.
Goal 1, all development that occurs in Baldwin is to be consistent with the goals, policies, and plans of the comprehensive plan. By using policies such as evaluate the comprehensive plan regularly and proceed with the updates when such action is deemed appropriate by the city. To establish codes addressing zoning, subdivision, building, and property maintenance, and review these standards and requirements on an as-needed basis. Monitor legislative changes and new requirements and community responsibilities. Update the development regulations as necessary. Develop policies and regulations shall be applied consistently. Development policies and regulations shall be applied consistently and uniformly. Analyze all development proposals on an individual basis from a physical, economic, and social standpoint within the context of the entire community to determine appropriate uses. Amend established geographic land use designations and reloaded zoning classifications only when it can be demonstrated by those making the request that the modifications are in the best long-term interest of the community and consistent with the policies of the comprehensive plan. Justification to amend the comprehensive plan or development regulations to allow uses or activities not allowed shall be consistent with long-term community goals and not solely short-term market demand or potential.
Any questions or comments on that one?
Mr. Chair, so that last one is one of the most frequent ones you'll deal with if you're having proposals come forward to change zoning from one classification to another. For example, if it's guided for long-term industrial to meet the city's economic development goals, someone says, well, I've owned this property for 20 years and I can sell it today for residential. Well, this is the question that the Planning Commission deals with, balancing those competing goals of the city versus the individual and property. And so what this is saying is that alone is not justification to make that change.
Goal number 2.
Baldwin will maintain high standards for community engagement, involvement related to development and the city facilities and services through policies. Provide opportunities for direct involvement and input of residents, business persons, and property owners in the planning and implementation of any development-related activities in the city. Utilize business and civic organizations as a means of communicating and informing landowners and tenants and the general citizenry of area projects, plans, and accomplishments. Encourage developers to hold informal meetings with project area residents business persons, and property owners on a neighborhood basis to inform them of development plans prior to proceeding with formal development applications. Conduct public hearings on area plans and projects with prior notice to all citizens in the community as required by law. Make use of available media such as area newspapers and the city's website and newsletter as a means to keep citizens informed of all development projects. Document all analysis related to consideration and of development proposals to substantiate and communicate the basis of the city council's decisions.
Questions or comments on that? Okay, goal 3. Larson, you take that?
Number 3, allocate administrative and improvement costs to those generating the demand or benefiting from the service. Policies. Number 1, model a administrative procedures and services, including the process of development applications to ensure that the financial costs associated with these services are paid by those making the request. Number 2, utilize special assessments and/or special service districts to assign costs for public improvements to the benefiting parties. Number 3, require land dedication easements and other such dedications at the time of subdivision and/or development to ensure the physical capability for necessary public, semi-public utilities and improvements. Number 4, annually review the city's financial position to ensure proper fiscal programming and management. Number 5, monitor federal and state programs for the possibility of assisting the community with implementing the comprehensive plan and meeting the needs of its citizens. Number 6, implement a capital improvement plan for the identification, management, programming, and budgeting of capital needs for Baldwin.
Mr. Lick, real quick on the first one where it says monitor the administrative process and services, including the processes of developing applications in this part to ensure that the financial costs associated with these services are paid by those making the request. Do you have an example of that?
For example, when someone makes a development application, they pay a fee to the city to cover the in-house staff's costs, the publication hearing costs, the salary of the planning commission, the lights on in the room, plus they pay an escrow for planning, engineering, and legal services. So they are making the request, they're generating the need for service, so they're bearing the cost, not the general taxpayer.
Okay, good deal. Okay, next page, appendices.
Mr. Chair, that's it.
That's it. That's where we're at. It just has that. Then after that, the strengths and all that. We've talked about that before.
We've done that, yeah.
So with that, is there anything else you'd like from us regarding this? We went over, there's a few corrections.
So this was the policy plan chapter, which again forms the basis for the actual plan itself and the maps everyone's familiar with. So at the next special meeting, we'll start reviewing the actual development framework sections of the comprehensive plan.
Perfect, okay. Okay, that concludes F. G, City Council Liaison Update. Mayor Swanson.
Okay, a couple things. I'll try and be quick. Just to reiterate, we had said this to you before. I think we made it, the announcement anyway. Dan is also what brought me up was the park committee and the parks part that you just ran through here, whatnot, as kind of a placeholder. Well, the council has also had Mr. Licht included in the park committee as well. So I would assume, I think you've met with him once now at this point in time. I'm not sure that there's any spot for an update at this point in time, but as he works with the park committee, whatever, those things will be added to the comprehensive through Mr. Licht and through the that's in the works. That's happening. Number 2, we have officially sent a request to the post office. Remember, the question was, can you use Baldwin as your address? Yes, you can. Put Baldwin on your address or whatever, your mail will get to you. Then it went one step further that said, if you have Baldwin on your passport And the post office doesn't have a recognition that Baldwin is 55371 and 55398. Would you be able to get back into the country?
I mean, what's the answer?
That's, we don't know yet. So we have officially sent the letter asking the
found out.
post office what the scoop is. I'm not sure if we have thrown a brick into Beehive at this point in time. Joan and Kayla are working on that. We have not gotten the letter back from them explaining that. I know that there has been some opposition. It's like, we can just put Baldwin on there, and I think Joan was told, no, it doesn't work that way. And then, but it does work that way because question is once it becomes on something that's official, if it's junk mail, well, maybe if it didn't work, we'd all be happier, right? Because we're not getting all that stuff. But if it's something particular, passport, real ID, these kind of things, whatever that is, that, then what do we need to do? We're waiting on unless, Caleb, we've heard anything, I don't know. We had discussed something, in the past, whatnot, about the park and ride up here. I don't know if anybody's been driving by there, whatnot, all of a sudden campers started showing. Okay, so, and trust me, I was watching, nobody had to call, nobody had to do anything. So that park and ride is officially MnDOT's. Governed by MnDOT, controlled by MnDOT. MnDOT has put signs up there, no overnight parking. So, and then I've been talking with the people, the MnDOT and the state patrol, the troopers, whatever, and it's like, well, we don't necessarily want to be ogres. Right? I mean, if somebody lands there in their RV or whatever it is, they have mechanical problems or whatever, and they're gonna be gone in 2 days, well, we can be accommodating. If they set up camp, whatever, and we see the tarps come out and the grills come out and they're there for weeks on end, they understand they're gonna get rid of it. So we now have a mechanism in place. Literally, we will let the DOT know, if that is the case, if they've been there for a while, if they haven't noticed it already. They'll send the state troopers in that and/or.
So do we contact you?
Yes, let Joan know or let us know or whatever. I'm by there literally every day, so.
Mr. Mayor, semi-trailers?
Semi-trailers, this is literally no overnight parking. We've also said too that if somebody lives in a neighborhood, whatever, where they can't fit the whole truck in the neighborhood, they're gonna drop that off there. You know what I mean? I don't know that we necessarily have a problem with that until it sits there for days and weeks. So, we're working on them with those. Those are being quote watched at this point in time, just to see what's happening there. But the no overnight parking, what that also does, it's consistent with what MnDOT does in all the rest areas as well. They'll have no overnight parking. And literally, if somebody lands in a rest area, the state will also look at that as, we're not gonna boot them out in the first 5 minutes. Either overnight or something's happening. But long-term parking is not. Okay, and then, let's see here. Last is, roads. And the question I have, and Dan, I was thinking about that as we were going through all of this. I don't know if there was ever any projections, at our incorporation process, how many roads we're ultimately gonna have when we're fully developed. Right?
Mayor, there wasn't, because that'll largely depend on the extent of development and how that's patterned, that we can't necessarily scale down or estimate at this point. From the transportation plan, though, we should be able to identify what the mileage is of collector and arterial streets, because you're gonna wanna have those corridors defined as part of this comprehensive plan update to know that when development comes to this area, we need to secure right-of-way, then we need to start developing plans for how those roadways get built.
And I would also think too, the way we're developed now, we've had these discussions in the past, whatever, you know, we're not going to turn into anything much more than the way it is developed now, right? Large lots, those kind of things. Right now, we have 80 miles of road. I don't know if as we have little developments and things like that, the one that we just approved over here on 105th and 136th, probably what, 1,000 feet, maybe 1,000 feet of road that got added to that. So if there's a dozen or so developments and fields, areas that happen, and we get to 1,000 feet, that's a fifth of a mile, so we're probably gonna add 12 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles maybe to the 80. Literally, when we're fully developed, we have right around 100 miles. So, but what that ultimately does for us at 7,500 people, probably 40 to 60%. So if that were to double to 15,000 people, we're looking at 100 miles of road to accommodate all of that, not 160 miles. In other words, the amount of miles. Lay that on you. Other than that, I have nothing.
I had three, but they were all previous conversations.
Stop signs and roundabouts.
Excellent. Anyone else have anything for the mayor? Okay. Okay, that brings us to H, Commissioner update. Commissioner Larson, let's start with you. You have anything?
Other than the city council generously approved our events at the park, for the park this year. We're going to have the Easter egg hunt, bringing it back to the community for the first time. And Fun Fest is on target, ready to go.
Good. Deal. Commissioner Barnes?
I don't think I have anything additional at this point.
Okay. Mr. Stoffern?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. The only thing I have is our question for our interviewees. We wrote up some questions like 6 months ago, a year ago, when we interviewed all of you as well. If over the next month or two, if you can think of anything that you would like to ask, just bring them to our special either next month or the following month. If you can think of anything that was off the subject of when we interviewed you. So that brings us to I, city staff update. Mr. Licht.
Chair, no application updates at this point, I don't believe. So if nothing else, the next two meetings would be just discussion of the comprehensive plan.
Oh, good.
One other update I wanted to bring up was Commissioner Stoffern had brought up the idea of the need for turn lanes on County Road 9 at Oaks of Battle Brook. The developer didn't apply for the proper permit from the county to construct the street intersection, so the county and city engineer are following up on that.
Okay.
Deal. Okay. That brings us to J, miscellaneous information communications, noted below, notes 1 through 4. And that brings us to K, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm going to do it this time. I'll move for adjournment.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, meeting adjourned, 8:42.
It's supposed to be like an assigned role, you know.